Hey, BassGeek here, and when you see bass doing these two things, you better pick up a swim bait. But not just any swim bait, one that you can move fast and elicit a reaction strike. For years, I've chased bass on offshore ledges and humps, and for years, I've heard pros and YouTubers talk about how when those bass are suspended, that they're not active. All the while, I've been putting out videos like this and like this, talking about how you can catch those suspended bass. Now that all those pros and YouTubers have got forward-facing sonar, ain't none of them admitting that they were wrong and that I was right the whole time. But I'm not here to say I told you so. I'm here to teach you geeks how you can catch those suspended bass with a big swim bait. Now, I know that glide baits generally get all the love when it comes to big swim baits. The single joints, the wide swimming action, they look so good, they catch a lot of fish. But when you're seeing two things that's happening during the summer, you better pick up a multi-joint like this, the Pulse Swimmer. When you see bass busting shad, and if it's a consistent thing, they are hitting topwater. Yes, topwater is a great thing to throw, but they're not going to do that all day. And when you see bass out on the ledges, or when you see bass out on those deep haunts and they're suspended, or they're suspended over open water, this better be what you're picking up. Now, the great thing about a multi-joint is it's really designed to be fished for active bass. It's got a nice tight wiggle. You can fish it really quick. This is the fast sink, but two things that I will do is upsize these treble hooks to get it to sink a little bit better, get it down a little bit deeper so that I can reel it really quickly. Another thing that I'll do sometimes is I will change this tail out. Now, this tail will screw on. You can buy these tails from them, but you can put a lot of different tails on, and every once in a while I played around with putting a little paddle tail on, and it gives it a little more lift, but it really gives it a pretty tight little wiggle. Most of the time I like the straight tails, and that's why I've got this on right now. I want to keep that straight, but I do upsize these. And something else I'll do, make sure you play with this. You don't want to mess the balance up so it drops by its tail or head first, but we'll put some suspend dots. They also make these swim bait weights that you can put on that I really love to use. If you're going to fish this thing shallow, or those bass that are busting on shad, you don't have to change a thing. This thing comes out just perfectly. So rod, reel, and line set up for this, guys. Look, I throw it on a 7.3 medium heavy so I can get a nice long cast out of it. Even a 7.6 medium heavy would be great. This is a Resolve bass. This is the high-end version, and I'm telling you, man, if you guys ain't tried TFO yet as much as I've talked about them, what are you doing? Give these rods a try. If you don't believe me, at least go get you one of the professional series. That is their bargain series. If you're not impressed with that rod, I can't impress you with rods I like. But anyway, 7.3 medium heavy. You can see it throw 3/8 to a 1 ounce. It throws this thing great. Now I've got a Lose, I believe this is a KVD. I don't know what this is. Anyway, it might be a KVD, it's a red reel, who knows. Super high speed though. This is a 9.5 to 1. Basically, man, I just throw this on the same rod that I throw my worm rods. I throw 12 to 15 pound test, K9, Pro 100, 100% fluorocarbon. So the Pulse Swimmer, I'm telling you, this thing is great. It's also great when the shad spawn's going on and the bluegill spawn's going on. But if that's already over, which it is where I live, this little bait is great when they start schooling up in open water. So the way I like to fish this, listen, I do love to get out and scope these schools of bass, but if they're busting, you don't have to have a live scope to be able to do this. If they're busting shad, you throw this out there, give it about 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, let it sink, and you start reeling like a maniac. Reel, stop, reel, stop. Now, if you're fishing out there and they're suspended up, they will come up to this. So if you're out there and they're suspended up out on, say, humps or ledges, you let this sink down, get your sink rate timed, let it sink down, and do the same exact thing. Now, to keep it from rising, you're gonna reel it a little bit slower, but this is a fast sink. Like I said, you can make a few modifications, bigger hooks to get it to sink faster, a couple of suspend dots. You could tie lead wire around these to get it to sink a little bit, but be careful, don't mess up the action. Pay attention to what the action is before you start making those modifications to get it deeper. And geeks, you gotta know, I mean, I fish deep bodies of water, so I'm doing everything I can to get it down and be able to fish it fast and get those reaction bites. Most of you probably aren't going to fish the same water that I'm fishing. What I do love is fishing clear water, and something that I've learned is that the bass will kind of stay at that end of visibility of the water. So if you can see 15 feet, they're going to be in that 15-foot range. And they'll see this. We call them up on top water all the time. So don't think if this is 1 or 2 feet below the surface, they ain't gonna come eat it, because they will. Basically what you do, you make the cast out there. When we're talking about open water, you give it about 2-3 seconds. You give it about 4 or 5 reels. Stop, let it sink, 4 or 5 reels, stop, let it sink. Repeat that until you get all the way back to the boat. Now, if they come up and hit it, trust me, you're not going to mistake a bite with this thing. When they hit it, they're coming to kill it. So as soon as they hit it, you side set with these hooks. Side set, keep your rod tip down. You do not want them throwing this, and you get them to the boat. If you have to boat hop them, boat hop them. Preferably, you got the net ready, but if you don't, boat hop them. This is a lot of bait, and they will throw it. Now, I will tell you this, don't be afraid to let this break the top of the water, especially if they're busting top water. You reel it so fast that it comes up every once in a while and just breaks the top of that water or wakes it, they'll crush this thing. Now, you guys that are gonna fish the bank or fish from the bank, don't be afraid to use this either. I know we're talking about live scope, but this thing, if you are setting from the bank and you can make a cast with this bait out to where they're breaking, you're going to get your arm jerked off. They are going to destroy this. And the great thing about it is you're going to catch the biggest ones in those schools. But again, this is going to be the same thing. If you're lucky enough to have the gills spawning, the brim spawning, or the shad spawning going on, this little bait right here is going to be money for you. And you fish it the same exact way. Cast it right up on the bank, give it a couple of turns of the reel, and stop it. Give it a couple turns of the reel and stop it. Give it a couple turns of the reel and stop it. Now, you can fish it slower. For me, multi-joint baits, I've had way more luck fishing them almost as fast as I can fish them. And this bait is great for that. It's perfect size. Hook set's gonna be the exact same. Side set, reel down, easy peasy. Landing those bass, it's the same exact thing. Be careful, these are 2 treble hooks. It's a big bait. I would suggest once they get there, if you don't have a net man, boat hop these bass, get them in the boat. And anybody's going to tell you that. I've seen a lot of the other guys that talk about landing bass on a hard swim bait is to don't play with them, because it's a lot of stuff that they can shake their heads and wrench those baits out. All right, geeks, I really hope you do go check out that Pulse Fish Swimmer, because during the summer, that thing is money. Those multi-joints, they shine. All right, questions, comments in the comment section below. You geeks know I love to talk about fishing with you. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you ring that bell. 100% Watch Squad, you geeks are what make this channel rock. And as always, you geeks rock.